In the future of TikTok here in the U.S., the Supreme Court upholding the ban. So the ban will remain. This is a decision thousands of Americans, in fact, millions of Americans have been waiting for. The TikTok would be banned in the U.S. Zach Schoenfeld is with us, legal reporter for The Hill. This decision just coming down, not really a surprise, but what exactly does it mean in the time frame and the future of TikTok?
Good morning, Marni. That's right. The Supreme Court announcing in this decision that they will not save TikTok. The Supreme Court, in this unsigned ruling, has upheld a federal law that will require TikTok, as of Sunday, to face a nationwide ban in the United States unless its Chinese-based parent company, ByteDance, divests. Now, ByteDance and TikTok have been saying all along that divestment is not feasible, and that if this ban is allowed to go into effect, which it is now poised to do, the TikTok will effectively go dark. TikTok had been hoping for months that this day would not come. They had been challenging this law that was passed by bipartisan majorities in Congress and signed into law by President Biden in April. TikTok had been arguing that this law violated the free speech rights, not only of TikTok itself, but also several individual creators who also challenged this law. But the Supreme Court rejected those arguments, instead siding with the Biden administration. The Biden administration defended this law by pointing to the app's ties to China, raising concerns that the Chinese government could potentially access the data of the more than 170 million U.S. users on TikTok or covertly manipulate the content's platform algorithm. The Supreme Court in this decision has said that it is not deciding exactly what level of First Amendment scrutiny needs to be applied here because it says that that data collecting justification that the government made is enough to sustain this law over the First Amendment challenge. So the bottom line is this TikTok ban is now set to go into effect this weekend.
So, I mean, there's a lot that could still happen here. I mean, one thing, you've got President-elect Trump taking office on Monday. He's pivoted and said he would not support the ban and he would like for TikTok to still be available. So what happens now in the interim, Zach? I mean, on Sunday, on my phone on TikTok, does it go black?
So the way this law is designed, it would prevent places like Apple and Google, these app stores and other service providers, from providing their services to TikTok. So it would ban Apple and Google from, for example, offering TikTok on their app stores. They couldn't provide updates to the app. But the law does not specifically tell TikTok it has to, shut down completely. If you already have TikTok downloaded on your phone, the law would not mandate that it automatically just disappears as of Sunday. Now, TikTok has been claiming that this is a doomsday scenario and that they're effectively going to have to shut down all U.S. operations. Now, we'll see, of course, after that decision changes, whether the trajectory changes. The government here had been effectively accusing TikTok of playing a game of chicken. And they said, once the Supreme Court comes out with this ruling, maybe TikTok will reverse course. But as you mentioned, there's also the question of the backdrop of this changing administration in Washington. Trump is set to take office now on Monday. He has been much more sympathetic to TikTok. He has expressed a desire to somehow negotiate a deal that saves TikTok, but it's a bit unclear what action Trump could take. Even if, for example, the new administration, once they take control of the Justice Department, says that they're just not going to enforce this law that has now been upheld, then the question becomes, will companies like Apple and Google go along with it? Because this law, if they are prosecuted and found to violate it, they can be fined up to $5,000 per user. So if you just do the napkin math, $5,000 per user, millions of users, that's quickly fines amounting into the billions. So even if Trump doesn't want to enforce this law, there really is this whole other question of whether tech companies will take it off their app stores because they're concerned about the risk.
Right. And then you've got this whole other issue of tech company CEOs kind of snuggling up to President-elect Trump as he gets ready to take office. The other thing I wonder about, Zach, is potential buyers, some of which have already come forward. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, we've seen, as this ruling we knew was going to potentially come down this week before the ban, we heard some talk from various investors, everyone from Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, who's known for his appearances on Shark Tank, and even some talk of Elon Musk. So there's certainly been a lot of chatter about a potential sale here, but TikTok has been saying all along that a divestment is just not practically feasible. Now, of course, we'll have to see now after this decision what TikTok is going to say, whether they are going to start entertaining offers. And the other thing that I think is important to point out here, that even if this ban really does go into effect next week, it's not irreversible. If TikTok down the road divests from ByteDance and issues a sale, TikTok then could return to normal operations in the U.S. So even if we were to see a brief interruption in TikTok beginning next week, it's not necessarily the end.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.